It's always exciting when the next console generation happens, and the next console comes out, and you see all these new cool graphics and gameplay, and you're like, whoa, this is just unreal, man. The PS2 was a huge deal when it came out. It could play DVDs and games, of course, and everyone loved the system. It's one of the best-selling consoles of all time, and for good measure, too. It's a great system. Whenever this happens, the previous console that we were all playing is still going. It still hangs around for a little bit, unless you're Nintendo, that is. The PS1 did hang out for a few more years, and it hung out until 2004 in North America until it stopped making games. I've got a list of 9 games that I'm going to talk about that came out after the launch of the PS2 that are still good games, and they remained as late releases for the PS1. To make this list interesting, I made a criteria that games have to meet to be on this list. The first one, they had to be released after the PS2 launch, which was in October of 2000. The second one does not count if it was released on newer hardware at the time. An example of this is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. You're going to play that on newer hardware because why wouldn't you? The third reason, no compilations of games from older systems. Example would be Final Fantasy Chronicles. That does not count. The fourth, this is only for North America library only. The list would get too crazy if we included Japan and PAL regions. Our fifth criteria, 1 game per franchise, 1 game per genre. If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button at the bottom right corner. I post every single Saturday on this channel and most Wednesdays. Not every Wednesday, but most. With all that being said, let's dive into the list of late released PS1 games. Number 1. As with any list on this channel, we gotta kick it off very, very nice, and Mega Man X5 is the first choice here. Mega Man X5, just like Mega Man X4 and all the other X games, is a 2D platformer, and it's the same fun that you would have in X4 and all the others. This game was released in North America in January of 2001 at the time, and it plays exactly the same as X4. There are a few setbacks though with this one versus X4 in my personal opinion. They took away the cutscenes and added these still images. Not a bad thing, but it's just kind of more boring. I kind of like the laughable cutscenes a little bit more. Also, this game has a lot of texting, at least in the beginning of the game, and it's just so annoying. You're trying to play the game, but you get stopped every freaking 10 seconds just to hear Aaliyah say, "Hey Mega Man, you know how to play this fucking game? Here you go. I hope you know how to play it." There's not a manual or anything like that, but sorry, I know, jokes aside, this game is actually a lot of fun. There's cool Mavericks and cool bosses, and this game is actually pretty fun. There's a lot of backtracking in this one versus the other ones when it comes to collectibles, but this game, it plays and sounds and everything. Everything you want with the Mega Man X game, it's here. Just those few minor things I wanted to mention. Thankfully, if you want to play this game though, it's not only on the PS1. Of course, a lot of people know this. It's on modern systems, and it's a very good way to play this game with the Legacy Collection too. If you like the other X games before it, you'll definitely like this one. I don't think it's as good as X4 personally, but there are some people who do. So, Mega Man X5, play this game in any way possible. Number 2. I remember playing Driver 2 back in the day at my friend's house. He had this game, and I thought it was really cool whenever I saw him play it. This game is kind of pushing it. It came out in November of 2000, but it technically qualifies for this list. Like Driver 1 and the other Driver games, you actually play as John Tanner again, and you go on, driving missions and such, and you drive in the huge city here by the coast. And at the time, this was pretty impressive. There's a lot of pop-up with this game whenever you're driving, but as you play through the whole game, you eventually get used to it, so it won't bother you after a while. Driver 2, to my recollection, it's still only on the PS1, at least for this version. It's on Game Boy Advance as well, but that version is totally different. So if you want to play this game, it's pretty dang cheap. The Driver series is definitely a staple on the PS1, and I definitely recommend playing Driver 2. It has good controls, especially with the analog stick, and it's just a fun game overall. So if you like driving, racing kind of games with some missions, definitely check out Driver 2. It's a good retro game. Number 3. Puzzle Star Sweep was a game that came out in 2001 in North America. Technically, this game was released for arcades in Japan in 1997, but the first time I ever got a console release in America was in 2001 on the PS1. This game has really good pixel art and very colorful and has good music, and the puzzles are actually kind of cool with how it works. It's a lot like Tetris or Puyo Puyo, and it's very similar, but with its own thing going on. If you like games like Bust-A-Move or Tetris, you'll definitely dig this game quite a bit. It's very addicting. So this game is also dirt freaking cheap. It's like less than $10 on the PS1, so there's really no reason to why you shouldn't try this game, and especially if you like puzzle games. It's very addicting, simple to learn, kind of hard to master, but for the most part, you'll like it a lot. Check out Puzzle Star Sweep for the PS1. Number 4. Fear Effect 2 was a game that I remember seeing at the rental store all the time, but I couldn't play it because it was rated M. After all these years later, I finally got a chance to try to take a look at this game. This game came out in early 2001, and this game looks phenomenal. The FMV cutscenes are really nice. It almost feels on the level of a PS2 game in a way. Not to mention too, whenever it transitions from the FMV to the actual game, it's actually really nice, and the cel shadiness and all that stuff looks just really good. This game, of course, when you look at it, it looks like a lot like Resident Evil or something like that, and it's close, but it's more action-adventure-ish, for sure. The Fear Effect games is definitely a cult classic among retro gaming fans, but unfortunately, they still remain only on the PS1. This game here is over $60 or so, which is not bad, but that's still kind of a lot if you want something on the cheap. If you like stuff like Resident Evil or action-adventure games with fixed cameras, you should definitely check out Fear Effect. This one looks very interesting, and it's kind of cool. Number 5. Ark the Lad Collection is a compilation of 3 games as a trilogy, and we got the game in 2002 in North America. I know I said that compilations don't count here, but I said for previous systems. Ark the Lad games were on PlayStation in Japan in the 90s, but it got ported to America, so it's still technically on the same system. Ark the Lad is a lot like Fire Emblem or Shining Force. It's a tactical role-playing game, and it's got some decent story for sure, good characters as well, and the combat's a lot of fun. It's a grid-based like system, and if you've played games like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, or Shining Force, you'll be right at home with this game. Working Designs is the ones that publish this game, and they're always the one that works wonders and bring cool games from Japan and localize it for America. With that being said, you probably already guessed this game is over $100, so yeah. So if you want to get this physically, you're gonna have to spend about $150 to $200, give or take. However, you might be able to go on the PS3 store and download these games individually. I'm not 100% sure, I haven't checked, I looked up online, but it says that it's on the list, so definitely give it a look if it's there. The Ark the Lad games are pretty cool, and it's a shame that we didn't get this until 2002. The PS2 was already out by then, and it was just a late release on the PS1. If you like RPGs in general, you'll definitely like the Ark the Lad games, so definitely check them out if you're interested. Number 6. With the Deadpool and Wolverine movie being kind of relevant and recent that just came out, I figured I was looking and I saw this X-Men game that I wanted to check out. X-Men Mutant Academy 2 is a fighting game only on the PS1, and it came out in late 2001. For an X-Men fighting game, it's not that bad. You can play as most of the characters from the X-Men. You've got like Wolverine, Gambit, and all that stuff, but the controls are good and it's decent. The guys who made this game and the first game, Paradox Development, they also made a game called Wu-Tang, Shaolin Style. And that apparently is a cult classic among other people, and it's also another fighting game. This game is probably not going to win any awards though. It's not on the same level of stuff like Mortal Kombat in terms of polish, but overall it's still a decent, fun game. And if you like the X-Men and you just want to fight each other with your favorite characters, X-Men Mutant Academy 2, definitely check this one out.
Maybe now you take Toad seriously.
Number 7. Soul Divide was a game that really took me by surprise whenever I found this. Originally made for arcades back in the late 90s by the same guys who made Gunbird, it was ported to the PS1 in 2003, which was very late. This game is really cool though. It's like a scrolling shooter mixed with some beat-em-up mechanics. You can choose a few different characters whenever you start this game. It's like a Greek mythology theme that's going on here for it, and it looks awesome and it plays very good. Now, to play this game, originally in America, it was only on the PS1 for a very long time. Now you can check this game out on the Nintendo Switch, and that's probably no more than like 10 or 20 bucks. Plus, if you want it on PS1, it only goes for around $20 anyway, so this game is definitely very cheap and affordable and very accessible. So Soul Divide is one I definitely would check out. If you like scrolling shooters, you'll like this one a lot. Number 8. Phix the Adventure is a 3D platformer that I've never heard of until just recently when I was making this video. This game is definitely unique, and I gotta point out real quick, this character is freaking hideous looking. I don't know, what is he? Is he a Furby mixed with like, I don't know, an alien or bug? I can't tell what this thing is, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the gameplay, and this game actually has things going for it. You have this like magnetic thing you can change from positive to negative, and it definitely works pretty well against the enemies. And the controls feel good, and it's definitely got a cool concept overall. It's not going to win any awards or anything, but this is definitely a unique platformer that I've never heard of, and I doubt anyone really talks about. As you probably assumed, this game is only on the PS1. It's never been re-released or nothing. It's never even probably been mentioned since it came out in 2003 in North America. This game's about 15 bucks or so complete in box, and that's a pretty good price for a game like this with some decent quality to it. If you're looking for a 3D platformer from back in the day that you've never heard of, here's Phix the Adventure. Definitely give it a try and see what you think. Number 9. Military type of games that are third-person shooters or first-person shooters, you see those as dime a dozen. C12 Final Resistance is far from the cliche though. This game was developed and published by Sony of Europe in mid-2002. It's pretty crazy that it came out in 2002 and the PS2 is almost 2 years already out, so you know they weren't giving up on the PS1 just yet. This game has phenomenal graphics. This game is definitely pushing the limits of the console. It's a third-person shooter though, and it feels and plays incredibly well. There's like an alien robotic invasion going on, and you're going around destroying them and just kind of reconvening with your allies and such. And this game is a good example of using the DualShock controls very well. The left stick moves you pretty good, and the right stick is good for the camera as well. And you can even go into first-person mode here and there too with the R2 button. C12 Final Resistance is dirt freaking cheap, 10 bucks. That's it. You would be surprised because of a high quality game this is, it would be expensive, but no, not really. I think it's because it got looked over because of all the other games that looked like this, so this is a good example of don't judge a book by its cover. It's not on any kind of store for PS5 or PS3 or PS4 or anything like that, so it's definitely stuck on the PS1, but it's so cheap that you can buy easily for 10 bucks or less. So if you like third-person shooters, you gotta play this game. This one might be one of the best third-person shooters on the platform, and it's a first-party title, so check it out. And there you have it. Those are 9 late-released PS1 games that you definitely should at least give a look or try that are decent titles. There were some honorable mentions here too that I wanted to bring into the video, but these were just trumped by the ones I put on this list in those genres, so there's definitely some other good games too. It goes to show when the next generational console comes out, that doesn't really mean that games are just done for the older systems. Maybe there's games that you don't even know about that you could discover and find. The NES was kind of like that, as well as some stuff like the PS3 and 360. It happens with a lot of systems. I had a lot of fun making this list, and just remember, this is my personal list. I know these aren't the best games ever of all time, but these are just games that I definitely think you should check out, especially if you love the PlayStation 1. If there's something that I missed that hit the criteria of this list video, definitely leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your suggestions. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to give it a like. You got something to say? Leave a comment down below. And of course, if you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.